everyone, my name is Shelby and this is the YouTube series where I reveal what's inside these mystery pottery molds I found on Gumtree. Hello and welcome to part 33. So I just wanted to quickly say a massive, huge thank you. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers over here, and to me that's just wild because I only started this YouTube a little over 6 months ago and I never expected to be at this point already. So thank you so much. I'm so happy you love these videos. I absolutely love making them. And not to jinx this mold, but I think that this one is possibly my favorite so far. I haven't picked a favorite yet because I think they all have such a beautiful space and place in the collection, but this one is totes adorable. I hope you like it as much as I do. But it is, you can't really tell what it is here because I opened it backwards, but it is the cutest, sweetest little bunny mug. I cannot. It's so adorable. It's grabbing its little cheeks. One of the handles is its ears, but we'll look into it in a little bit more detail. I'll show you the mold itself. So this mold says that it's a bunny cup made in 1979, and gosh, it has aged so well. I absolutely adore this. This is something that I would make. Something that it's been on my to-do list is to make a range of animal mugs, and this is exactly the sort of like style I wanted to do mine in. So this is so gorgeous. As you can see by the mold, it had a lot of like excess clay from the previous owner in there, so I had to really give it a good scrub. But I couldn't get it out of those little toe beans down the bottom. I couldn't get it all out of there, so I'm just going to pour the mold and hope that I can sponge it away. And I also noticed that this mold has a little bit of damage. So it's got damage on the handle and then some on the pouring spout. The pouring spout doesn't matter so much because it doesn't impact the shape of the piece, but I'm a little bit concerned about how deep this one on the handle is going to go. But when I revealed the mold, it's all good. It's something that I can just sort of cut away a little bit and sponge down and smooth over, and it's not very noticeable. The feet did have a bit of clay. As I was touching it, I noticed that I could sponge it away, so hopefully it doesn't impact the final piece. So sometimes you can get the clay contaminated, which means that sometimes it can have a bit of a speckled detail or it might react with your glaze. So I'm just sort of hoping that that first pour is going to be okay. But after painting them, I can't even remember which one was which, but I'm sure we'll be able to tell if it comes out of the glaze funny. I'm sure I'll notice straight away. But I go in and start cleaning the mold up. I cut off the pouring spout so we've got a nice clean rim, and I also cut away at that dent from the damaged mold, and I begin to sponge them so that they're nice and smooth and ready for painting. Something you can do that I've never actually mentioned because I personally don't like doing it in my space is all these videos I've showed that I sponge down the line mark of where the seam of the mold was. Something you can do, which I'll share with you, is you can sand this down at Bisque, or you can sand it down when it's in this greenware stage. But if you are doing that, make sure that you have the appropriate respirator mask, the appropriate cleaning as well, because you just want to make sure that you're looking after your health first and foremost. So many people are obviously seeing these videos now. A lot of people are taking up pottery at home, learning off of YouTube, but something that is really important, and I talk about a lot, is making sure you're looking after your safety and health, because the clay dust is so bad and some of the materials can be really toxic and harmful. Make sure you're doing your research into all that. So if you are going to sand down the lines, which can actually make it a lot smoother than what I do with the sponging, make sure that you've just got the appropriate equipment to do that. I don't like doing it in my space because even though it is outdoors, I still worry about, I guess, breathing in the dust once I've finished that project. So that's why I do a lot of wet work. Is I use a lot of sponging. I make sure that everything's wet when I'm sanding. It's best practice to do that anyway, to keep things wet and do wet sanding anyway. But I do a lot of things to sort of minimize dust in my space. So even my recycled clay bucket is filled with water. And that's just basically because of what I have access to. So make sure that you do your research. Some potters do have like ventilation systems, duct systems in their space, which is amazing because they can do a lot more of that sort of sanding and work with dry materials. But at this point in time, my space doesn't accommodate for that. So I've just got to adapt how I do my pottery to suit the safety requirements of my space. So yeah, that's just another tip I haven't shared before, and I recently thought of it because I saw another potter doing it and thought it was worth mentioning that you can sand down the pieces. I just opt to sponge because of my space setup and the safety in my area. Anyway, that was my little TED talk of safety for the moment. I like to do that because I think sometimes there's a lot of misinformation out there, and not a lot of people talk about the safety in their videos because it's so glamorized and romanticized, this getting into pottery at the moment, that not many people are aware. So that's why I sort of try and share a little bit about it, and for you to do your own research into the safety before you get dive into the deep end and start doing your own pottery journey. So let's get back to how cute this piece is. I am absolutely in love with it. I think it's so gorgeous. I love how this little bunny is like squeezing its little cheeks, like it's like pushing them up and making them all chunky. I love that. And I also adore how the floppy ears have been used in a really functional way. So the ear is now the handle, and it still looks quite like an ear. Sometimes when you get a piece and you adapt the style, adapt a part of it to look like the handle, sometimes it doesn't look like that, the body part anymore. But this one I absolutely adore. I think it's so sweet. I love how its little feet are sort of poking out, and I really adore all the proportions of this piece, which is something that I didn't really identify with what I haven't identified with before, is that I love like the oversizedness of different aspects of this piece. Like I love how big and prominent that back tail is and how it just really pops out. And I love how tiny its little teeth are, and its little button nose, yet its eyes are really big and bulging, like how I paint my eyes on my normal work, is that it's just so cartoon-like yet so cute, and almost got like this little bit of whimsy and imagination to it. It just makes me so excited. And as I'm talking, I'm just realizing I have major regrets that I didn't turn one of these bunnies into the bunny off Alice in Wonderland. I should have done that. I need to make another one now. But with these pieces, I absolutely love that they're wearing overalls. As soon as I saw it was wearing overalls, I was like, I wear overalls. I love pottery. This is so cute. I'm going to paint them inspired by the sets of overalls I have that I wear when I'm working in the studio. So that's what I'm doing. So the first, I don't really have an order. I painted them all in different orders as I wait for different coats to dry. But I did 4 different sets of overalls. So the one I'm painting now is a green pair, like my green Lucy and Yaks, but I'm adding some patterns because I didn't want to just leave it plain overalls. They're cute on me, but I thought on a bunny I really wanted them to be patterned and inspired by something that I would love to wear as well. So on the green ones I decided to do some red little mushrooms because I'm really addicted to mushroom art at the moment, especially after the mushroom molds. So I'm very in love with them. So I did a mushroom pair. I did a pair that was inspired by my Princess Highway. It's called the Nelly Native print. So I've done a pair that's inspired by those. So it's got flowering gum, golden wattle, and some wax flowers. So absolutely in love with that one. I've got a rosy pink color because I got my pink overalls by Lucy and Yak. So on those ones I ended up illustrating some little carrots all over it. I was going to leave those ones plain, and then I was like, no, can't leave them out of the pattern fun. And then I've got the blue pair, which are just based off a pair of denim overalls that I found in an op shop years ago, that I still wear all the time. And on that one I did some bright white daisies. So I absolutely love these. I honestly cannot express enough how cute they are. there's a lot of painting footage this week, which you could probably see already, and it's quite a longer YouTube in comparison to some of the other reveals because I showed a lot of the detail of the whole painting process, but I'll probably try them out soon. But all I wanted to say is that I wasn't going to add colour to the tail. I was going to leave the tail as it was, a nice white, like the clay body, but I ended up deciding to go for a pink and grey spots because on my all my Aussie animal pots, I have this, I don't know why it sort of came about, the first one I ever made, I did the tail pink with grey spots. I don't know why I did that, but it's now become a signature of the pieces, and it's just stayed, and every new animal I make has the pink and grey dots, regardless of whether it has a tail or not. I add one, so like the koalas have a tail, even though they don't have one in real life. They've got a little dot tail on the back, which I don't show often on my Instagram or anything because it's usually the front that I photograph, but on this bunny I also added it to the signature collection, I guess, and sort of it's almost like a little trademark that it's a Shelby Share Art original in a way. I don't know where it came about. And one other thing is I realized that I forgot to turn the camera off when I was filming the Instagram TikTok versions of this video, so there's some cute little screen through screen filming that I thought was really adorable to see how I film the little TikToks, and then it's pretty much the same. I'm filming them all at the same time, so it's just a different section of the filming that you see on the other platforms compared to the YouTube, but the YouTube is a lot longer and a lot more detail of the process. Anywho, that's me rambling. I'll chime out for a little bit whilst I paint. There's a lot of it, and hopefully you enjoy this one as much as I did because I'm in love with this piece. was probably my favorite, and I'm looking forward to it the most. Just a simple blue with a white daisy just makes me feel really summery and like I don't know, like a 90s film that I used to love watching on school holidays. I'm getting really lovely vibes from this one, and I have a feeling I'm going to want to keep it. I really adore this shape so much. I just have so much love and adoration for it. So I popped these in for a bisque fire, and now they're ready to glaze. So with glazing something like a mug, I'm being cautious with how I'm pouring it. This is really sped up, but pouring it in, tipping out the excess. I sponge off any drips from that. You can see down the side, it's sort of dripped. I sponge that away, let that dry, and then I dip them in. And the reason why I let it dry is because sometimes the moisture on the bisque can sometimes almost be like a repellent for the glaze, I've noticed. So that's why I let them dry. So once they've all been glazed on the insides, I then dip them in. I did notice that this glaze was a little bit thick, which I noticed when they came out of the kiln as well. I should have just added a little bit of water, but it is still a really beautiful glossy finish. So what happens when you have too much glaze, which I'll show you with one of the results, all the pieces were fine bar one, which you'll see soon. It's completely fine. It's just a potter perfectionist thing. What happens is it kind of has like a bit of a cloudy finish. So instead of that really clear glossy finish, you get like a little bit of a cloudiness and a bubbliness. You can fix it by refiring it, but sometimes if the glaze is too thick, there's nothing you can really do. So that was like a little bit disappointing, but I'll show you that piece later. But otherwise, I am so in love with them. They were a little bit tricky to pack, just because their tail sort of was so protruding and their ears were so wide, and they're quite tall, that my stilts were just a little bit too short to have 2 layers in the kiln. So I only did 1. I popped them through, and here is what they look like. That blue pops out straight away. It is so gorgeous, and it's gorgeous next to the possum as well. So unpacking those, I'm sort of just inspecting them as they go. That's what I usually do. That was me reacting to one that the glaze was too thick to, but here they are. The pink is based off my pink Lucy and Yak overalls. I kind of didn't expect the color to come out this way. It's never sort of come out this way before. It's usually more of a rose pink, which is a little bit disappointing, but still lovely. Just because it wasn't my expectations, it's still lovely. It just meant that the carrots sort of blended in too much and weren't like a standout feature. The blue overall bunny is so gorgeous. As I said before, 90s movie dreams of a like art teacher or something. I am so in love. It's so gorgeous. I love the contrast with the white, the blue, and the pink. I think it's just like a really lovely color palette. The green one is spot on for the color of my overalls. You'll see me in my overalls in a second. I love the pop of red against that green. It's just like a little forest bunny that's just being out, foraging whatever snacks it can find. I love it. I reckon I've said I love it so many times in this video, but this one I was so excited for, but this is the one that has the cloudy glaze. Still gorgeous. The black is a little bit darker than what I was expecting. The overalls that I was basing it off are black, but I was sort of hoping to like tone it down just a little bit, so it was a little bit more of a softer sort of grey black. The detail in it is so gorgeous, but here's that cloudiness. You can't really see it on film until you zoom right in, but you can see that it's really bubbly. It's got a little bit of pinholing on it, which means that I can't sell this one as a mug. Like, it will have to be a seconds piece, unfortunately, unless I refire it. But here they are compared to my pairs of overalls, doing some cheeky little transitions that I would do on TikTok or another social media platform. This was so fun to film and seeing them in comparison. But let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe for part 34.